Now, who has children here? Please raise your hands. None? Really? Okay, for those who don't have children, how many of you are planning to have children at some point in the future? Yeah? Okay, I see a lot of you. Good, great. And would you say that once you become parents, you would want to do your best to provide for your children, for their food, for their school, for the home that they grow up in? Yes? Even when we don't have children yet, we know that once we become parents, there's this instinct that we want to raise them well, we want to care for them, we want to protect them. There's this innate behavior. We naturally want to give them the best, the most optimal environment for them to grow up in. This innate desire to protect and love your children is a survival instinct. It is the result of millions of years of evolution. And the purpose is to ensure that we can survive and we can continue our existence as a species. Isn't it beautiful? What if today you are being equipped with the knowledge? It's like you have this crystal ball predicting accurately and telling you that there is this very massive, harmful disaster coming our way. It's going to impact our ability to protect our children. It's going to make our children's lives much, much harder. It's going to make our children's chances of survival jeopardized. But the twist is, you can still prevent this thing from ever happening. You just have to stop doing the things that will worsen it, they will speed it up. Would you do it? Would you do your best to prevent this thing from ever happening? Would you use your time, your effort, your energy, your resources as best as you could to prevent this disaster from jeopardizing your children's chances of survival? I bet we would, right? But what if I tell you, today we have the most widespread cognitive bias and the biggest thinking error of all time, because we are equipped with the knowledge, we are equipped with the technology, we are equipped with the solutions, but we are still largely ignoring this climate change time bomb. Since the Industrial Revolution, humans have been pumping greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere like it's an open sewer. And yet, there's still denial about climate change. It's true that Earth has cycled through many ice ages and many warm periods in the past. But what we have to understand is that in the past, it would take between 5,000 to 20,000 years to see the amount of change in carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere that humans have caused in just the last 100 years. At the current rate that we are going, many of the worst impacts of climate change will happen during the lives of the youngest humans today. For your perspective, those born in 2020 in Southeast Asia will experience up to 150 deadly hot days in a year by the end of the century. During our lifetime, we will witness mass extinctions of so many species vital to our ecological balance, and it is already happening as we speak. During our lifetime, we will witness human population decline due to increased risk of heat stroke and health deterioration, not to mention the disease carrying insects roaming far and wide due to global temperature rise. We will witness dramatic reduction in crop and fishery production that will in turn impact our global food supply and our global economy. Seeing these pictures of melting ice caps, many of you are already thinking, so cliche, isn't it? But what many of us aren't aware of is that this melting permafrost releases zombie diseases that have been frozen in ice for centuries. It could start a new epidemics. These melting ice caps undoubtedly translate to rising sea levels, which translates to this. This is Muara Gembong. It looks like a shiny day, isn't it? But if you look closer, it's full of houses permanently submerged in water due to land subsidence and rising sea levels. On the 25th of June last year, I went to Muara Gembong and I came to find out that just 3 hours car drive away from Jakarta, my hometown, there lies a region where the people are still dying from diarrhea due to lack of access to clean water. A whopping majority of people in Muara Gembong are still living under the poverty line. And on that day, I came to find out that many of the children here don't go to schools, not just because of their financial constraint, but because the logistics of going to school itself is already a nightmare. Muara Gembong is only one of the many coastal areas that have been affected. It is just one small red dot on the map of areas that are already or projected to be under the sea level. Indonesia has the longest coastal areas in the world, about 18,000 kilometers in total length. Sea level rise will affect 160 million people on Indonesian coastal areas alone. And many of us already know that the biggest cities in the world are built on or near coastal areas. Climate change has caused many unpredictable extreme weather. Last June, severe droughts were reported in Bogor, West Java, and Lombok, West Nusa Tenggara. El Nino this year has pushed temperatures around the world to levels never recorded before. This year, humanity has experienced the hottest July, the hottest August, the hottest September ever measured across the planet. The red dots, the pink dots, and the brown dots are all the areas most susceptible to dry season. And disasters of shortage of water and failed crops are looming. While droughts are becoming more severe, other parts of the world are experiencing flash floods due to heavier rainstorms. Last July, flash floods and landslides have hit Padang City in West Sumatra, displacing many women and many young children from their homes. And the story doesn't just end there. At the same time, global temperature rise has led to many frequent widespread forest fires and in turn the loss of biodiversity. This is especially true for Indonesia. Between January and September this year, 54,000 hectares of forest have been burned in West Borneo. And that's the official number. It could be bigger. You can see the stark difference between the satellite photo taken on 7th of August last year and the one decided taken on 23rd of September this year. Can you imagine the loss of habitats for the wildlife? Can you imagine being the locals having to breathe in all that air pollution? People, all of the disasters have been happening at the current global temperature rise of 1.1 to 1.3 degrees Celsius. We really cannot let the temperature rise to more than 1.5 degrees because we could reach a point of no return. It's now or never. So, how many of you knows who this gentleman is? Please raise your hands. No? Nobody? Okay, clearly this gentleman is not on TikTok. So this guy is James Gustav's friend. He was a senior US advisor on climate change for over 50 years. And after all those years, he believes that the underlying problem is really human selfishness, greed, and apathy. And I couldn't agree more when he said that to deal with those, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. We have the technologies, we have the solutions, and we have the abilities to stop this progressive destruction of the future of humanity. We just have to break through the capture of our political systems and irresponsible business activities. Because today, we are at a crossroads. What we collectively decide to move forward towards will determine the livelihood that our children and our children's children will have. At the current rate that we are going, currently we have the policies in place to tackle climate change. But they are not sufficient, they are not fast enough because we are still heading to the disastrous 3 degrees Celsius warming or more. Now, we might not have direct control over our government's decisions or the giant corporations' actions, but we certainly have control over our own actions. I'm not talking about the small things like bringing your reusable shopping bags or bringing your own metal straws to drink your water from. I'm talking about actions that challenge the status quo. We have to stop prioritizing short-term monetary gain over our long-term survival. We have to be able to deliver on the development of renewable energy, on the establishment and sound carbon markets. We have to elect those in power who are daring enough to regulate greenhouse gas emissions, to impose carbon taxes, and to transition away from coal and fossil fuel industry. We have to demand our government to stop giving licenses to corporations to destroy our forests. We have to let them know that we care and we demand them to prioritize climate change issues. Because today, we are in the midst of a global climate crisis. This isn't just a problem for politicians or the scientists. It's a mission for each one of us. What we collectively decide to move forward towards is going to determine the kind of world we leave behind that our children will inherit. Our most important mission today is to collaborate with one another to bring about the changes necessary to the ways we do things now. They are no longer working. Essentially, we are standing up for the human rights of our children because the environmental problems are social problems. Our current ways of pursuing profits and unsustainable growth are only fueling climate change time bomb. They will eventually mean lack of access to basic human rights like food, clean water, clean air, education, and proper housing for the majority of us. We have to collaborate with one another to speed up climate transition plan. For those who are here in this TEDx talk or those who are watching, if you can understand what I've been saying, it means you belong to a group that's more educated. You belong to a group that's more privileged. You belong to a group that has more power to affect change. Your voice can shape the direction that we move in. Remember, inaction can just be as damaging and wrong. Remember, we simply cannot be fully evolved human beings if we do not protect our future generations. Thank you.